Hi everyone. So I'm getting a lot of people in the comment section. Hi Ayushi, hi Shubham, hi Ekansh, hi Aditya. So Ekansh Bhai, Aditya Bhai are also there. Nice. Hi
Hi
Shivang, hi
everyone.
again Ayushi. Hi everyone. Hi Akshat, hi Raghav, hi Siddharth. So we are a lot of people in there. Nice.
It's good to see everybody excited in the beginning. Hopefully, we can have a similar engagement up until the end.
Yes, definitely. Great, great, great. Yeah. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. It's officially the first episode of our roadmap series from newbie to pro. And EquiCode, the whole team of EquiCode can't be more excited to have the first episode with Simran Makhija. It couldn't have been better. And we are really, really, really excited. And it would be great, if we all if we can know where are you all from. Like EquiCode is just there to have a very cultivate and to cultivate a diverse learning environment, and it would be great if you can just know where you're from. Like I'm from Delhi NCR, and
I'm from
yeah,
Indore, MP.
nice. So if you all can also just comment there, where you're from, that would be great. See, we are already getting something for you.
That's my friends hyping me up there. Perks of being active in the community. You have
Yes.
friends that are hyping you up left and right. It's nice. Hi, Aditya. Thanks for that.
Yeah, so we'll okay. So in the meantime, I'll just start by introducing Simrandi, and then we'll definitely go with the session. We'll also wait for a few more minutes for other people to join in as well. So people are just commenting over there. We have people mostly from Delhi. Nice.
Mhm.
We have UP,
Yes, we have
Ayodhya.
South Delhi, we have New Delhi, we
Yes.
have Delhi. A lot of Delhi.
Yes.
There's someone from Ayodhya. Hi.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Nice.
How's everyone keeping this lockdown? Okay, let's make the question a little less generic. What's the one thing that's annoyed you the most during lockdown, and what's the one thing that has been good about the lockdown? Hi, Shivang. You're from Haridwar. We have nice holy places coming in. So, yeah, I mean, in lockdown, what's one thing you've enjoyed, and what's one thing that's like annoyed the hell out of you? Except for staying home. Nobody says staying home for annoyed. And how
I
about you,
hope
Khushi?
I hope I can say it publicly, but definitely my classes have made me the most annoyed. I hope my teachers are not seeing this, otherwise they'll definitely cut
Oh
off
no,
my
it's
internet. But yeah,
it's online classes that are annoying, because
yeah,
online
yeah.
classes, you don't
Online,
get that class wala feel. You're missing your
right?
teachers.
Nice
Keeping
save,
it
nice save.
real.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, but
अच्छा
okay,
क्या
I
हुआ
would
लॉकडाउन
some
में?
lockdown. I've grown like a lot professionally. I feel so that's something that's definitely proven that has definitely been in my case because I've experienced a lot of professional growth within this lockdown. EquiCode has come over there, so obviously EquiCode is one of the best thing that has happened for me in the lockdown. But we
I
are
can totally
going,
relate to the
yeah,
growth aspect. I've experienced something similar.
right. So I got a lot of online classes thing.
Yes. Any reason apart from online classes? Yeah, I mean, how about like the person asking any reason apart from online classes should also say no. No sports. Oh yes, a lot of us are missing outdoor time. True. Like
Yeah.
I'm a dedicated bookworm, so it doesn't uh, bother me much. But I can totally imagine people that are active. They must be missing outdoor time.
So someone says for me best part was MLH local hack day. Yes, definitely.
Definitely, yes. The
It
local
was
hack
really
days and all the online conferences happening. To be honest, it's been keeping us all in touch with the outside world. Oh, we have basketball there.
okay, so I'm not a sports person at all.
Me neither, me neither. I'm just like that. I'll sit at home with a cup of tea or coffee with a nice book, finish it in a day. That's my
Right.
idea of fun time.
So the person said it all. And
I'd asked mention annoying thing, you mentioned the best thing.
yeah, yeah, we also want an
Actually, it's
annoying
been
thing.
actually it's been both. Working on a project does great on your nerves too. The outcome is what's the best thing.
Right. So I'll also quickly like I'm damn and I'm pretty much sure that all the people in the comment section obviously know you, but I think it's a duty of me as a host that I should introduce you officially. So I'll do my duty. So basically, hi everyone. Again, hi everyone. And so we are here with the very first episode of Roadmap series, which is from Newbie to Pro. This is a very special series for all of us because the comment section is now distracting me a lot, so but chalo, it's fine. So yeah, it's a very special series for all of us because it focuses on one of our major aspects, which is beginner centric tech culture, and we want all our beginner centric audience to to be just a little bit more acceptable with all these new emerging tech. And that's what we started this series for. We're going to have a lot of interesting episodes, folks. And the first episode goes in with Simran Makhija. So Simran is right now a gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, and he's also a Microsoft VS Code Hackathon winner. And I'll keep blabbering about her if I'll start up to, but I'll let her do that. So Simran, over to you now.
Hi everyone. I think that was a great introduction. Absolutely love the initiative you guys have started with because we all hope we had this kind of guidance when we started. So y'all coming up with this is a great idea. Kudos to y'all for that. Hi everyone. How are you doing today? We've been chit chatting a little. For those of you just joined, I'm your speaker for the day, Simran Makhija, your host, and the host community EquiCode has been nice enough to invite me to share my journey with web development and tell you how maybe you could have a similar or a better journey, learn web dev, and do it well. I hope I deliver. I have a little presentation that I would like to bring up. So hang on for a second while I try to share my screen. Okay. Okay, I guess my screen's up on stage.
Right.
So
Yeah, we can see it now.
thank you. So let's get started. Web Development Newbie to Pro. As the title says, Web Dev Newbie to Pro, this is a session for everybody. Somebody who's never heard about web development before or has never explored web dev before is more than welcome here, where you don't know what to do, how to get started. This is where I try to tell you how I got started or how I wish I could have done things. I hope this helps you get started in your web dev journey because mine has been tremendous. So before we start, hi, it's nice to meet you all. A brief introduction of mine. My name is Simran Makhija. I'm a computer science engineering junior from SDS ITS Indore. The name of that college is so long, nobody will remember it if I say it. So yeah, I'm a web dev enthusiast. While the poster might have had you believe that we're going from newbie to pro, I'm just a work in progress developer here, helping you along the way I have learned. I'm a Gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, so that's my commitment to the community and my involvement to the community. And I have also won a hackathon, the Microsoft Visual Studio hackathons. So that's a little bit about me. And as we were discussing earlier, not much of a sports person, completely a books person. If you ever want to discuss books with me, hit me up on Twitter or anywhere else. We can talk books, we can talk tech, and we can talk probably activism and feminism because that's something I feel strongly about as well. So I think that's enough details about me. Hope everyone's not bored yet. Let's get started. What is web development? I mean, I'm on this slide, but I would definitely want you all to, tell me what do you think web development is? What does this bring to your mind the first time you see the term? What does it bring to mind? What is web dev?
Hello, Simran, are you here? Or I feel okay. So, yeah, maybe I think she's having some problem with her net connection right now. But yeah, it's fine. She'll come back. But yeah, until then, just keep coming up with your questions as well about web dev. And right now, Simran, just so, folks, Simrandi will be joining us soon. Her router just went off, and yeah, she's trying to reconnect again. But until then, just keep coming up with all your questions regarding web dev. And okay, so I'll try. So what you can do as well is to come up with some of your questions about web dev as well, because she'll also be answering that. And until then, you can also answer what Simrandi asked all of you. That is, what is web dev? What, according to you, is the simplest definition about web development? And yeah. So a lot of people, yeah, let's see what other people have written. So someone says web applications, okay, developing websites. Yeah, probably the simplest definition that even I know. Web development for me is to design a website using HTML, CSS. Yeah, definitely these are some of the main components that we build up to. But I feel like, so I don't have a lot of knowledge about web dev, but I feel this is one of the major parts about front end. So I feel Simrandi is back.
Hi,
Yes.
I'm back. So sorry, everyone. I lost connection due to my
No
router going
worries.
off unexpectedly. Ooh, we have what is web dev? Building websites,
Right.
converting ideas to live applications. I love that definition, but that's a general definition of development. Web is just one way. So, yeah, coming from that definition, honestly, development is an expression. Creating websites using HTML, yes. Yes. So it is an expression beyond just creating a website, as Ayushi mentioned so beautifully. It is an expression of your ideas, applications you make uh, to make things easier for others or for yourself, for that matter. I have a friend who once created an application uh, to keep check of. So he lives in a hostel, and he created an application to keep check of. अगली बार water bottle भरने जाने का किसका turn है. It can be something that simple as well, you know. Like they
That's
have a
so
bunch
good.
of bottles and they go. So like this, they kept a check of that using an application. Anything that makes your life easier, honestly. That's how I define computer science. You know, something that makes your life easier. Does web dev have to be creative? Not the development aspect, to be honest. If you're talking about just front end dev, markup and CSS, somebody else might give you a design and you just have to implement it, where your own creativity does not come into play. If you're someone who's creating from scratch, you design your own application and then go into developing it, then you need to be creative. So it's not a specific need. It's just good to have. Uh,
Right. So I feel like we should take up the questions at the end, and right now you can just continue up with the session if you want, or like
yeah,
whatever feels comfortable with you.
I got a little carried away. I'm just gonna continue. Thank you. We're back.
Yeah.
Yes. So, what is web development? We saw a lot of the talk there about front end web dev, HTML and CSS. So, what I'm gonna say, I do mostly is front end work. So, that is something that I'll be a good person to guide you on. While I do have a little bit of experience with Node.js and Express and database management, because that's a CS student thing, you got to learn DBMS. I'd just like to ask you guys, what do you think the word front end and back end means? Or maybe just get an answer from Kushi, and then we can do a communicative thing later. Or Kushi can look at the comments and let me know. What do you guys think front end is and what back end is? What do you think, Kushi?
So I've not been that into web dev, but according to me, web dev, like the front end basically means whatever we can see up to on the website. Like whatever is visible to us, it's the front end. right? And whatever it's happening on the background, it's the backend. That's the simplest definition for me. Of course, we can go into much more details, but
Yes, it is. It is very. It's the simplest and the most accurate, in my opinion. What you see and interact with is front end, and what's happening behind the scenes, what you can't see, can't interact with, can't really touch, is the back end. Because with your phone, you can touch stuff. You can touch the front end. You can scroll, move around. So front end is what you see, and back end is
right,
what you don't see. It's a very basic definition and a very good one.
right.
So
We're getting some answers over here as well. That front end is what we see, and back end is the infrastructure behind what we see. Yes.
true, fair. So, this session is mostly going to be me asking you to get started with web development and talking more about the front end aspect. So we can do the back end aspect with the Q&A and the AMA part of it. So
Right.
where do you get started? And I would say you start with JavaScript. So I think I've jumbled up my slides a little bit, but why to start with something like JavaScript? You will see some people that do web development using C# and .NET, which is a very popular choice aside from JavaScript. So these are the two most popular ways you see people doing web development. Why JavaScript? JavaScript is very easy to learn. It's really very easy to learn. It doesn't take much. You don't have to know the complexities of things to get started with JavaScript, and you can do everything web with JavaScript and then some more. So because this session isn't a JavaScript fangirling session, I'll keep it limited. But you can do front end, you can do back end, you can do some machine learning stuff using JavaScript. You can even program watches using JavaScript. People have done that. So JavaScript is a jack of all trades and master of the web. It's the language of the web, but also does a lot of other work. Let's move forward. Let's get started on where to get started. Where do you get started with when you're doing web development? So learn to code in JS, learn the basics of programming in JavaScript, write your first hello world application in Node.js, learn the basic programming concepts like strings, arrays, data types. JavaScript is a loosely typed language, so variables, conditionals, loops, all of that. Learn the basic programming concepts of JavaScript before you start building websites, because you need to be good at programming first. You need to know the language to be able to work in it on the web aspect of it. So learn the basic programming concepts, learn the basic data structures and algorithms used. Here, I don't mean that you learn very complex algorithms like those that we learn in algorithm courses in our schools and colleges, but just the basic data structures and where they're used, how they're used, and algorithms like the sorting algorithms and searching algorithms, things that you will use a lot. Just the basics of all of this. This is your first step. This is what you should learn first. Moving forward, learn HTML and CSS. A lot of people mentioned HTML and CSS in the chat. So HTML is hypertext markup language. HTML is the nouns of what. So if our website were a sentence, HTML would be the noun. HTML answers the question of what. It is the markup. You write your HTML to include what you want on the website. So that's HTML. Learn HTML. Just learn what tags are, learn what the head does, what the body does, why do we have metadata, what does the metadata do, learn HTML properly, make some simple basic just HTML projects, just small ones, maybe somewhere where you're trying out all the different types of HTML tags, creating tables in HTML, displaying images. And once you're done playing around with HTML a little bit, learn to style your components, because HTML is basically, you type text and it shows up as text. And on your websites, on any website, you don't see just text. You see a lot more. You see style text, beautiful looking text. How do you make that beautiful? CSS. CSS stands for cascading style sheets. And these are separate files that you write. Like there's a .html file and there's a CSS file, and you link that in your HTML. So if going back to our grammar analogy, if HTML is the noun, CSS is the adjectives of your sentence. CSS tells you more about the noun. It enhances the noun. It makes it beautiful and, going a little bit into language, flowery maybe. So that's what HTML and CSS is. Learn to write HTML and CSS. Do some small projects with some basic styling, just something maybe you might have done in seventh and eighth. If you have, cool. If you haven't, because I hadn't, that in my first year was the first time I touched HTML and CSS. Just make sites giving basic information, add images there, use a little bit of styling, get familiar with these things before you move forward. Next step, once you're done learning HTML and CSS, learn JavaScript, but for the web. So now we have learned JavaScript before, we know the basics and nuances of the language, we know the basics of programming in the language. What's new when it comes to using it for the web? So as I said, HTML is what you see. CSS is how you see it, right? It's the adjectives and the nouns. But when we go to a website, it's not just plain information that looks beautiful. You interact with that information. You press a button and it does something. So there's something happening. There's action. So in a sentence, if our websites were a sentence, JavaScript would be the verbs, the actions that you're doing. So you need to use that JavaScript to make your web page do stuff. And that can't be done with just basic programs. Like, obviously, you'll be using what you learned while you were in step one, programming. But here you'll have to learn more about interacting with the DOM. What the DOM is the data object model. JavaScript treats the entirety of your website as an object. So DOM manipulation is something that you'll come across when you're learning JavaScript for the web. You can learn DOM manipulation, event handling, those kind of things. That comes under learning JavaScript for the web. So before you move forward, make a project. Use or everything you've learned, just vanilla JS. You'll see a lot of people calling it vanilla JS, just making projects using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So make a project. You can look up ideas on Google. Here are just some ideas I have for you, or Bing or DuckDuckGo, any search engine of your choice. You can look up ideas there. Here are some ideas I have for you. Make a to-do list application. Make a note-taking app, something like sticky notes, but simpler. Maybe just a note-taking app. You just show the note there. Make a calculator, make a random text generator, something that just generates lorem ipsum or bacon ipsum, something like that. So that is, you could also make a tic-tac-toe, or maybe later. So yeah, those are just some project ideas. After your any questions up until this point, or anything that anybody would like to add, or we good to go?
Yeah, so we do have some questions.
Right.
Yeah. So the first one is, which is the best editor for web dev for a beginner?
You can use either VS Code or Sublime Text. From the beginner point of view, do not use Notepad. People don't. You can use Sublime Text or VS Code. I started with using Sublime Text, but I highly recommend both. So Sublime Text and Visual Studio Code by Microsoft, it's free. Both those two work well.
We do have a generic question over here as well. What a web developer should know?
What a web developer should know. A web developer can be a front end developer, a back end developer, a DevOps person, a DevOps engineer, excuse me. So it depends on what role you're in for what you should know. You could be a full stack developer where you should know to make the front end of the website, the database management, as well as your back end. So depends. If you're a front end web developer, you should know basic front end libraries and frameworks. You should know styling and HTML, CSS, JS, basically what we're discussing right now. If you're a back end developer and using JavaScript, you can do back end in Python, in Java, in JavaScript, and in C# using .NET. I'm not sure about the last one, but yeah, I think you can. So you can use a multitude of things for that. What is course? Okay, cross origin requests. I am not sure what the S is. So your best friend when you learn to code or to develop as a developer is going to be Google. anything you don't know. Just all of us are googling stuff all the time. You can't remember a
Right.
multitude of things. So as I mentioned earlier, HTML and CSS, the best place to go for when you're looking for things is the Mozilla Developer Network documentation. The MDN documentation is the most reliable place to go for HTML and CSS. And for JavaScript, so for these three things, that is my go-to. And what is course? It is cross-origin resource sharing, and
So,
is something that
right.
has to do with the networks and DevOps side of things. It is, I'm just going to read the definition off of Wikipedia and tell you what problems I've faced with course. Cross origin resource sharing is a mechanism that allows restricted resources on a web page to be requested from another domain outside the domain from which the first resource was served. So what in practice course is you might have your front end deployed to a different domain, and you might have your servers deployed to a different set of connection settings. Now these things are coming from different origins, right? From different domains and networks. So there, the cross origin resource sharing means these are coming from different origins and just sharing resources between themselves. This is the most basic definition, and I do not want to um, scare anybody that's new. So I mean, that is the least that we could touch into this. All right, do
Sure.
we have any
Yeah.
other questions?
Yeah. List out the advantage of HTTP to as compared with HTTP 1.1.
Is this a web technologies Viva?
I don't have it.
This
So,
this really sounds like my I will have a web technologies course next semester, and I feel like I'm giving a Viva here. This is an in-depth question that I personally cannot get an answer from off the top of my mind. You can reach out to me on any of my social media, and I'd be happy to help, or on EquiCode's Discord. I'd be happy to help you guys out there. But this is a question that I'll have to pass for now. You can always look it up.
yeah,
To
we
do
have
use.
this question. Like maybe this
Yes,
is regarding something the to do app. Yeah.
you can make a to-do app using HTML, CSS, and JS. It will take a lot of time. Will get your basics right, and then you can make it again when you know a framework or a library like React, Vue, or Angular. You'll notice the difference, the kind of things you can do in one and not the other. It's good practice, in my opinion. We link the JS file using link href. I believe not. You link it using the script source, the script tag with the source attribute.
Okay. Um, yeah. So this is basically a very general question. Like a lot of our audience wants to know basic resources where they can start from. So what have
I
been your
have
go-to resources?
my go-to resources is for learning, for the starting of learning JavaScript. Mine was a Udemy course by Cold Steel, which is the Web Developer Bootcamp. That was where I started learning. I do have a list of resources that I could think off the top of my head that I created a list of on GitHub. I guess you can leave that in the description or in the comments. It is
Yeah,
for
sure.
all web dev. You can start learning from Free Code Camp. There's a website called scrimba.com. You can learn from there. You can learn using the Odin project. There are great resources to get started with JavaScript on Microsoft Learn. There is uh, there is a curated repository of resources as well. So, and also you can learn on Progate. There's a multitude of places you can learn JavaScript from. But for your reference, I would say keep Mozilla Developer Network MDN's reference as your go-to ref, and not just anything that comes up on Google. Okay. Any other
Yeah.
questions? We have one more
Um,
question, I think.
yes. So do Vanilla JS project count to major project in a resume?
When you have nothing, yes. something's better than nothing. So yes, they do count as not major projects, because when we say major projects as BTech students, it's our final year, fourth year projects. So that is, if you're using vanilla JS, making your major project will be very difficult for you. You can make really complex things using just vanilla JS, but that will be a waste of your own time because you have libraries and frameworks to do the complex work, the heavyweight lifting. So yeah, something's better than nothing always. So in my first resume, I had this. I had a to-do application listed because I was in my second semester looking for internships. So yeah, I mean, something's always better than nothing. If you've done something and you can showcase it, like if you do a vanilla JS project, make sure to put it up on GitHub pages. Link it in your resume, add a link. So people know your experience level, but they also know you've done something practically. So it's always good to have something on your resume instead of a blank project section.
Right. We have another question, which is why are React and Angular needed when things can be done with vanilla JS too?
To make your life easier. So
Why
things
please?
have been done. I mean, we've all heard about dry code. I hope as a coding principle, do not repeat yourself. Or some a smart coding practice is always when there's something's already been written. Don't do it again. So Angular is a framework, Vue, React, these are libraries. People have written a major chunk of things already for you to use to make things easier for you and to reduce development time. So that is why we use these frameworks and libraries, so that you don't end up writing something that has been written by someone, made open source, made as a utility for everybody, made as something that can be used by all. You're writing it again. It is just doing the complex thing. I mean, you can always do it. It's a good learning, but you can get away from it by learning
I feel we are done with
React
the
and such.
questions for now.
I think that was my next point. That is learn to use. Okay, no, before that I do have another point. Let me just share screen again. From the next time, what we can do is whenever we're taking questions, we can just put the screen on the backstage, so then we don't have to do this again and again. Yeah, right, cool. Has my screen come up? Yes. Right. So learn to use a style library. Before you move forward, learn to use a style library, and not just like never mug things up. Okay, don't learn things as we used to do for social science. Learn things as you did for maths. Learn to use a library. Don't learn the library. Like it can be Bootstrap, Semantic UI, or Tailwind CSS. These are just some examples of style libraries. Any one of them, just pick it up and learn to use it. Learn to use the library using its documentation. Learn to look up the documentation. What this helps you in is, as we said, CSS makes your website look prettier, but as was discussed in a question before, we use React, Angular and all to make our work easier. Similarly, style libraries have a basic set of styles that were made by somebody which you can use. And why not? Why write something that has already been written? So learn to use these style libraries, but learn to use the documentation, to read the documentation and implement it in your websites. What this helps you do is, if somebody comes up to you tomorrow and you just know how to use Bootstrap, and somebody comes up to you and like, hey, we're using semantic UI in this project and we want you to help us out. Could you maybe? And you'd probably not say no. You know how to use Bootstrap. Semantic UI is just one more style library, but it's just a style library. You open up the docs and you read the docs and you'll be able to use it as well. So learn to use a library instead of learning a library. And after you do this, make a project again. After every step of the way, make a project so that you're implementing it, and then you have something to put on your resume as practical experience, right? Something to show that you've done this practically. So you could, again, some ideas that I have are, you could make a blogging application or a photo gallery, a picture library, a project showcase, or your own portfolio at this point. Also, a side note, something that I haven't included in my slides, while you're learning all of this, making projects, learn to host them. So some free hosting resources are your could be GitHub pages and Netlify. These are free as far as I know. These are free hosting services, so that you have something to show for when you've made a project. Right, link it in your resume. Add a link to your project so people can see them. You could make any of these projects. You could make the ones that were mentioned here again, in making it easier for you. So just learn to use a style library, make life easier for yourself, and make magic happen. Also, again, before I move forward, learn to use Git and GitHub. It is an essential skill for all developers. So any step along the way, or maybe as your first step, you could learn to use Git and GitHub. And yeah, let's move forward. Learn a front-end framework or library. I think we covered this in the Q&A, so I don't have much to say. You can start with React.js, Angular, or Vue.js. All three of these come with, these are JavaScript libraries, and these come with their own sets of advantages and disadvantages, merits and demerits, and all are a great place to start. Again, I think I've written learn a front-end framework or library, but I would say learn to use these. So like I do a lot of work in React and I've done some work in Angular. But if somebody comes up and tells me, I have a Vue.js project I want you to work on, and you have, say, a week before you get started on the project, would you like to take it up? I would probably, given the learning curve and if it looks like a good opportunity for me, I would say yes. Because again, when you're using a framework or a library, it's all about learning to use that framework using documentation. So maybe I'd take a day or two to understand what Vue.js is, how it works, but ultimately I'd be able to work with it because most of my time working with React.js and Angular also goes, whenever I'm doing my development, I have all the libraries that I'm using, all of their documentations open in one tab. So learn to use these libraries, and you could learn to use just one of them, and trust me, it'll help you learn using many others. React.js and Vue.js are libraries. These would be easier for you to catch on to. Angular is a more complex framework with its entire set of rules and nuances that you've got to follow. But learning any of these well will help you learn others easily. Next up, again, make a project but something more complex this time, right? When styling became easier for you, you could make a picture library, a project showcase, or your own portfolio. Again, you can make a portfolio using this website, using any of these libraries, or you could make all of those again, add some features to them now that you can do state management and all of that. So when you're learning a library, learn to use the library. Some things that are common to all of these are state management tools and routers. So these are two things that you need to learn in addition. Usually you have with React, you've got Redux and React Router. With Angular, with Angular and Vue, you have similar libraries. So learn to use state management um, and routing when you're learning a library. Once you're capable of that, make a project. Now you can make a full-fledged social media application, a learning platform, a blog. And when we've come to this point, clones are a great project. So you might think making a Facebook clone or a LinkedIn clone won't stand out on your resume. There's nothing like that. It's a great place. It's an amazing place. Make clones. It shows that you can make something of that level of complexity, or maybe not implement all features on Facebook. Maybe just the basic ones. Clones work well. A learning platform, or a blog, or your own portfolio. Now, a blog, as I said, a blog should have been up there and a blogging application down here. Here, you could make a blogging application where you get new users, you get them to sign up and create their own blogs, post blogs and such. You could create a Medium clone or a dev.to clone here. Next up, meanwhile, while you're doing your front end for your projects, you'd need some sort of backend to stand in at least, right? So if you're not going into details, you just need to learn the basics of database management. You can use Firebase, which is backend as a service. It provides you with a plethora of services which make your backend work really easy. And you could learn backend with Node.js and Express. Since you already know JavaScript, you can learn to do backend work and server-side work with Express and Node.js. It is not that difficult if you're well versed in JavaScript. And if you're like me and you like designing your own projects, working on the design as well, you could dabble into UI UX design using Adobe XD or Figma and such. It's a fun thing to do. So that is with that I come to the end of my presentation. Some resources I have for you all. I've shared the link with you, the GitHub link. I think Khushi will have it added to the description as well in a bit, right?
Yeah, so
So
I've already posted it in the comment section, and after the session ends, I think it's showing up an error right now. I'll just add it in the description as well.
yeah, so that will be done. So thank you. If you
We
have
do
any
have,
questions now,
yeah, so
it'd be
everyone who has some questions, you can just post them right now. And so do have one question
do we
regarding the
need
documentation.
Oh no, don't read it line by line. Just follow a starting tutorial, learn it, and then when you need to use something. So, I've been working with React for over 6 to 7 months now actively, and still when I need to use React router or I want to create or use some React hooks, I go to Google and I'm like, use effect in React, and then I go to the code documentation and read that again. So documentation helps you. You should keep your documentation at hand for whenever you need to reference it. That should be your go-to place. But a starting tutorial, you don't need to read it line by line. You don't need to by heart it or anything. It's just something that you should have at hand, and there are official tutorials that you can follow to get started with.
We do have some questions coming up now. So this is about how to create a very simple web page regarding the coding structure and syntax.
All right, the coding structure and syntax. I'm not sure what you want to know because the coding structure and syntax as in best coding practices, or do you want me to tell you the kind of file structure you should maintain? I would like, I'll just tell you a best practice for coding is proper indentation. I, myself included, most web developers are borderline OCD when it comes to indentation. Even though your programming language doesn't ask you to indent like Python, it's good to have good indentation in your HTML and in your nesting and all. Like follow good practices with your syntax and stuff. Yeah, I mean,
Okay, so some kind of resources purpose. Would you recommend reading the book for Git, or would you prefer doing some online courses?
I believe you don't need a course for Git again. You just need to like watch a video for the basics and get started, and have a cheat sheet at hand. In offline events we used to give cheat sheets at every other event. We had nice GitHub cheat sheets lying around. So have a cheat sheet at hand, and you don't need to read an entire book again. Just keep the official Git documentation at hand whenever you need to do something new, and taking a short course would be something that I would personally prefer over the book. But if you like reading over an online course, then by all means go for that.
And we do have a request as well. So can you just help us develop any React application live on EquiCode?
Sure. Yeah, why not? Let's create a to-do app sometime soon using React or maybe something else. Let's do it. Why not? Sure. We can do that soon.
Yeah, we can do that
This
soon.
is a
So
nice way of propositioning, you know. You have an event idea and you're like, now who will go through the proposal process, tell all the people managing EquiCode and all, who'll go to everybody live पूछ लो.
right, see, like our
Yeah,
audience is
definitely in
very
the future.
yeah. So we'll definitely come up with that. Thank you so much, Ayushi. We got an idea. We have got good folks. Not like okay. So she's also saying she's like for clearing, not like today, but like future.
Uh-huh. Future में we'll have, like we have this series, we'll have some hands-on series or something. We can definitely do that. Yes.
Yes. So I feel like we're done on the question side. if anyone has any other question, you can definitely reach out to Simranti as well, or you can also post it in this comment section. We'll definitely try to give it up to Simranti, and she can just answer you. And thank you so much for
Definitely.
coming. Thank you so much, Simranti. First of all, thank you so much for giving up such a amazing session.
Thank you
Uh,
for having me. I hope it helped you all. I hope it helps you all get started. If I intimidated any of you, web development is the easiest thing to do. That's why I do it. नहीं तो मेरे से tough काम नहीं होता, ठीक है? So don't get intimidated. First things first. And second, I hope I helped you all. I tried my best. And if you have any feedback, please feel free to leave a comment, drop me a message on LinkedIn, or leave a tweet. If you didn't like it, leave an angry tweet if you want on Twitter. I won't mind, but feedback would be appreciated. I tried my best, and I hope you all had a good time. Thanks a lot for inviting me today, Kushi.
definitely
This
had
meant a
a
lot.
great
Thank
time.
you.
We definitely had a great time. Thank you so much for kicking off this series. It was such an amazing episode. And all the folks who are live here and who are just in the comment section commenting something, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just give this video a thumbs up and just hit the bell icon as well. Proper YouTuber feels, but please do that. We are
Like,
giving
share, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications for whenever they
yes,
post a new video. Yeah.
yes, please, please, please do that. We're also coming up with a lot of interesting content as well. Make sure you stay tuned for the second episode because it's something related to machine learning. Just a sneak peek. We don't know who is the speaker. We don't know, but yeah, something related to
I
machine.
know who it is.
Yes, Simrandy knows it. And okay, great. Thank you everyone for coming today. Thank you so much, Simrandy, for just giving us an
Thanks
amazing
a lot
session.
for having me.
We'll see you again next Sunday. So make sure you just subscribe to our YouTube channel again. Please यार कर
I'm
लेना
gonna do
बहुत
the
content
YouTuber thing.
है।
Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon because these people are really doing some amazing work. These people, and yeah, leave comments,
Yeah.
engage, talk, join the Discord server. Yes.
Yes, definitely. All the social media links are in the description box in case you want to go through by any. And also, I'll be leaving all the resources in the description section. So if you want to just go by whatever Simindi said, definitely go through that. And we have a goodbye comment for you.
Friends hyping me up again. I hope you all have a nice day. Thanks a lot for joining us
Thank you,
today.
guys. Thank you. Okay, folks. Bye bye.